Did you know that back in 2004, while playing Halo 2, a gamer named 67 Raptor Ball complained about a Class 2 projectile cannon that he described as a noob tube? The rest is history. You're listening to the Xbox Hub Podcast, the official podcast of TheXboxHub.com. For all the latest Xbox news, reviews, videos, and opinions, make sure you visit TheXboxHub.com. But for now, settle down, get comfy, and open your ears for some podcast delights. Hello and welcome to the Xbox Hub Official Podcast, episode 104. My name's Gareth. I'm your host, and on my virtual left is Mr. James Burks. How you doing, James?
Hey, how's it going? You alright?
Good. I like hey. It's good. Upbeat. It's a good start.
Yeah. Let's keep it going.
Is that a new catchphrase? Hey.
It could be.
I like it.
Let's see. See if we can trademark it.
See if we can do it. And on my virtual right is Mr. Darren Edwards. How you doing, Darren?
Good evening. I'm very well, thank you. How are you both?
I'm very good. Have you got a catchphrase?
No catchphrase from me. Oh. James has really shown me up this evening already, I think.
Oh, damn.
Sorry.
James, what have you been up to this week before we delve in? Anything fun?
I don't know, fun. I've had a terrible week of technology failing me.
No.
But my laptop nearly died for good. Completely overheated and just wouldn't do nothing.
Oh.
And on my phone, restarting because the battery's dead. I need a new one. And then the Xbox keeps restarting. So it's been pretty awful on the tech front.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's lucky I'm here, to be fair.
Now the Xbox thing is an interesting one, isn't it? Because it's happening for you on one game, on FIFA, isn't it? And there is a problem with FIFA switching off the Xboxes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite I think quite a lot of people are experiencing it.
Mm.
I mean, we know someone else in our tight-knit group that's got the same problem.
Mm.
And they don't seem to do anything about it, which is quite worrying. It just switches off completely. With no warning, nothing.
Yeah. Blimey.
Yeah, and it's not... I think one time it was really hot, so that it probably overheated. But the rest of the time, it made no sense. And EA know about it, Xbox know about it, and they're doing nothing. I think it affects Madden as well.
That's right, yeah.
Some people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's. I think I'm going to have to look for a new laptop, a new Xbox, a new phone.
Wow.
It's an expensive time.
Really expensive.
Christmas list. Yeah.
Gone. It's cancelled. Christmas is cancelled for James. Darren, what about you? What have you been up to?
Nothing much more exciting than that, really. Just working, unfortunately. So
okay.
Squeezing in a bit of gaming where I can, but yeah, mostly work.
Well, we're going to launch into what have I been doing this week? Well, there's a game coming out next week on the 22nd, Farming Simulator 22, and we were lucky. I was lucky enough to get an interview with Kermit Ball from the Farming Simulator 22 team, and we're going to play that interview now. So here I am, I'm talking to Kermit Ball, who is a community coordinator for Farming Simulator 22. Hello, Kermit, nice to meet you.
Hello, Gareth.
How you doing?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks. It's, you're familiar with game launches, so it's a crazy time.
It's a crazy
right
time
now,
for you.
It's also an exciting time as well.
Absolutely.
So,
you get to put your baby into the wild. Is that the right expression?
Yeah. And this is actually going to be my first ever launch from this side of the video game industry. I was hired by Giants practically like July 1st. I started slightly before that, but part of our movement to grow across the world and opening a new office in the U.S. So, covering more time zones now as a company, and we're self-publishing for the first time. So the 22 will be available in more countries than ever before.
Wow.
So that's a pretty cool moment for us too.
Exciting.
And I'm excited to be here. Yeah.
Great. I'm going to just straight away. I've got some questions,
Okay.
and you're probably going to cover quite a few of them. Let's talk about Farming Simulator 2. Where are we going this time? What are the areas that we're seeing?
Well, the main new features that we have, I would say, is we're bringing some things that have existed in our game through various mods over the past several versions. Like seasonal cycles is basically our take on that. Just being able to go through an entire actual like year of seasons, right? You're going to have winter, you'll have snow in the base game now. You'll see the leaves change in the fall, and spring will of course bring, warmer temperatures back, and you can start planting certain things again. So with this feature, you're going to have to pay more attention to the crop calendar. Like almost everything we do, it is optional, so you can still go into the settings and toggle this feature off if you just want to plant whatever you want, whenever you want, kind of like you're used to in previous versions of Farming Simulator. But that's definitely a big one. And with having snow in winter, you'll have to take care of the snow and clear it out of the way. It'll impact how your vehicles drive. So that's one of the big ones. Other than that, production chains, which kind of goes hand in hand with seasonal cycles, because it adds the ability for you to have more stuff to do around the map. So in the winter time, when you can't really plant a lot of crops, there's nothing really to harvest. It gives you, the opportunity to focus on taking your crops further. For example, you can take your wheat and you can take it to the grain mill and turn it into flour. Then you can take that flour further to the bakery and turn it into bread. Or if you have the right ingredients, you can also make some cake as well. But you need strawberries from the greenhouses in, which is another base game feature that's new to 22. On top of that, cross-platform multiplayer is a huge, huge thing for us. We're really proud that we've pulled this off. And now everyone on any platform the game comes out, so long as they have the same DLC and mods, can play together. So no longer are you separated PC only, Xbox only, PlayStation, and etc. So that's really going to be a big game changer, because now you can play with your friends no matter where they're playing.
Oh, fantastic. And we mentioned, where are you actually going? Because I think that within the last one, it's been a while now, if I remember. That was in a sort of like a Colorado town, a kind of big area in Colorado, if I made that up.
The U.S. map for 19 was supposed to be coastal California, actually. This time around, the U.S. map is Elm Creek. It's inspired by the U.S. Midwest. It doesn't, really... Our maps are never really one specific location. It usually takes inspiration from a broad area, broad region. So the U.S. map is Elm Creek, inspired by small town U.S. Midwest, what a lot of American farmers are used to when you think about at least the majority of the farmland in the States is, mainly in the Midwest. So it's been well received. And then we have grapes and olives are new crops in 22. So naturally, the European map this time, that's brand new in 22, is inspired by the French Mediterranean, kind of like on the border with Italy. So it's got some Italian charm to it, I would say, as well. But that map is called Haute Belleron, and that's our second map. And we're also bringing an improved version of the Alpine Farming DLC map, Erlengracht, that was a DLC for FS19. It's also coming to the base game of 22, and it has things like production chains now built into it, and a nice little improvement off of that DLC map. So you actually have 3 choices from the start now of where you want to play.
Wow. And you've got new character customization. It's a bit more in depth now. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that that was kind of a feature that when we knew that cross-platform multiplayer was looking like it would be possible for us to achieve, it then made sense. Well, more people than ever are going to be able to play together. So we also need to make a way for them to stand out from each other and be a little bit more unique. So the character customization screen, when you start up a game, you'll be, given that screen. You'll be able to create your character, but you can also change it from the menu at any time. So, we have a lot of people that role play our game. So there's like a beekeeper outfit in there. Bees are brand new to FS22. There's like a dirt bike kind of like racing get up if you want to get into that sort of thing. There's also like an outfit for if you're doing a lot of forestry, some protective gear and the like. And of course, you've got like a cowboy hat and an entire leather looking outfit. And we also have branded outfits now too, which is cool. So your favorite brands like Case and John Deere and Fendt, you can get branded shirts and hoodies and hats and even full on like work gear from those brands as well.
Wow, amazing. New crops. I've got to ask about crops. You talked about the kind of the France map. Is that
Right.
kind of vineyard feel to it, or?
Yeah, so it's another new feature that is really cool that I didn't even mention is the new build mode. It's new and improved. So the vineyards and the olive trees are placeable from the build menu. So you will set up your own vineyards, basically, your own rows of olive trees. And those crops, of course, come with their own specialized equipment. We also have a third new crop, which is sorghum, also known as Milo for a lot of people in the U.S. It's especially a really big crop in Texas. So that's new to the game as well. And you can use it. It kind of works like wheat and barley that you're used to. You can process it into flour as well. But those are our three new crops. Yeah. And that build mode, since I talked about it a bit, there's also branded buildings in there as well from Herman, branded animal pens with special features and the like. So there is a lot there. And you can also place the production chain stuff that I was mentioning before. Not every map will have every single factory pre-placed when you load the map up. The Elm Creek map in the US, for example, doesn't have a sugar mill because it just doesn't really, fit on what the map is designed off of. But you can choose to place that down if you would like. And you need sugar to make cakes and other things too in the production chains.
Brilliant. And have you had a graphical update? Is it a new engine? Is it the same engine? How's it working?
Well, it's built off of the same engine we've had, but it is a brand new version of that engine. So we're onto the Giants Engine 9. So it is, slightly better optimized for sure. And the graphics, we always have to take into account graphics for our game. We want as wide amount of people to be able to play it as possible. It's a pretty big world when you're in a map. So, we have to kind of temper expectations, I guess, on graphics, but you will see a lot of, a lot better, finer details and things like that. The lighting is looking better. The crops, look better. The textures are different. The ground textures as well have been kind of reworked. There's a blog out there for that. There's different ways to work the ground as well now. So there's definitely been some work put into it. But of course, it's not going to look like, Battlefield 2042 or anything like that. That's, a brand new AAA title just due to the nature of our game. And the way our engine works, it requires, we have our own engine for a reason. And the main reason is that our game's just different with how you have to, harvest crops and be able to move things around like that. So there's definitely some graphical improvements. And if you're on PC, NVIDIA, if you have an NVIDIA card as well, they've got deep learning super sampling, DLSS is available. So you're going to see some increased frame rate from that. There's some things in the works. And I think it's going to, be really well received from everyone.
Great. If you're a newcomer to the series, you've never played a farming game before, is the campaign the best way to start? Does it ease you in?
Yeah, there's an option. When you start out a save of our game, you get 3 options, and it's basically 3 different difficulty settings, easy, intermediate, and hard, basically. So if you are brand new to the game, I would recommend that you select a new farmer. When you select a new farmer, you get an option if you want to go through a brief tutorial at the beginning or not, and that'll run down, some of the basic core concepts to get you started in the game. We're also working internally on ways to improve the experience for new players, because we are aware that it's easy maybe to learn some of the base mechanics, but as you go further into the game and you try to do more and more, it can be kind of overwhelming, and we're very aware of this. So we're working on ways to improve that, and we should have news right around launch about this program that's going to help people out. So I can't really say more on it right now, but we're very aware that sometimes there's some accessibility early on for people that may turn them off. So we've talked about this. We're looking into ways to improve it, and we'll have something soon for people as well. The help menu in game too is a great resource for new players that already exist. So if you just pause the game, you go into the menu screen, you go to the help menu, it's got a long list of all the processes, and you can read about how they work, and that should give you a decent idea of how to execute them when you're actually playing as well.
Fantastic. So you said about cross-play multiplayer. How many people can you play? Say you're on we recorded the Xbox Series X. How many people can you have at a time?
Well, so the best thing about it is now players on console can rent a dedicated server or connect to someone else's dedicated server. So if you're going the dedicated server route, all dedicated servers are hosted on a PC, regardless of if you're connecting to it from a console or not. So with a dedicated server, you can have up to 16 players at a time, whether you're on console or not connecting to it. And if you're locally hosting a game from console, then you're going to have a limit of 6 players. But you can connect to the dedicated servers now. I would highly recommend anyone that wants to have, the best multiplayer experience to consider doing that. There's multiple server hosts out there already who have pre-orders available, including our partner Nitrado. So the option is there now for console players to be able to connect to dedicated servers. We also have improved slot counts for console players, which has been, a thing that's kind of limited consoles in the past. Once you start getting so much equipment on your map, you only have a certain amount of slots on console that you can reach. And that's in so that you don't break your game, because you could get to a point where it would become very unstable. Those have been improved by up to 300%, especially on the new generation of consoles. There's a blog out there with more information about that, but I know our console players were, really happy when we announced that improved slot efficiency as well.
I've got just 2 more questions for you. The first one is DLC. Have you got a plan for DLC in the future for this game? Of course you have. But you can't say anything now, can you?
We don't know, on the community side, we don't know exactly what's going to be in it yet, but we are doing a year 1 season pass, and that will come with 3 DLC packs and 1 larger expansion, and it'll kind of work like the seasonal cycles feature in the game. So the first one will be coming out very soon, winter of this year or early 2022, and then another one in spring, another in summer, and then that big expansion with a bunch of equipment and another new map will release about a year from now. It'll release in the fall of 2022. And that one is going to be obviously the biggest one. You can still choose to buy these DLCs individually, but if you want to go through the year 1 season pass, you can save yourself about $20 or so US. So it'll vary obviously based on region. But yeah, we have the year 1 season pass. There are plans beyond that to do a year 2 season pass. FS19 was the first game where instead of doing a 2-year cycle, we did a 3-year cycle. The main reason behind that was we were scaling as a company, and we had these new consoles that came out, like the Xbox Series consoles. So we wanted to spend a little bit of extra time getting things complete and doing, the most we could. And an extra year allowed us to do things like the cross-platform multiplayer and the like. And we were able to have more time with those new consoles and able to see, just how powerful they really are. So it's been really tremendously helpful. But we don't know going forward whether it'll still be a 2 or 3 year cycle. But 3 years has worked out really well for 19. So who knows?
Great. And my final question: if you had say there's 10 years in the future, maybe 15 years in the future, and you could create your perfect everything you want to do in a farming sim game, so you had no limits to power, to servers, anything else, what would you like to see? I'm putting you on the spot here a bit, but
yeah, this is a great question for me because I was a fan of the game before Giants hired me full time. I had done some commentary for the Farming Simulator League, our official esport, and I was an ambassador, which is just a volunteer position for Farming Simulator. So I was a fan of the game first, and as a community team member, I get the luxury of being a dreamer. So this is a perfect question to ask one of us. If you were to ask a coder, an artist, they know the limitations and they might not dream as big. But if I could, 10 years down the road, pick like a perfect thing, it would be like a more massive world, if that makes sense, especially if you're playing multiplayer. So right now on our Elm Creek map, for example, players will discover that they will see some road signage to previous maps. Like it'll say this direction to this map from a previous farm sim game. So I would love to see, maps connected together into like one world where we have a train system in the game, for example. So maybe that train system goes from one town to the other. Or you can drive your trucks on the road from one town to another, because maybe you're growing, this crop in this town, but the other town doesn't have access to this crop. So you need to move them back and forth to maximize your profit and the like, and kind of work together. So a big world like that would be something that I think that everyone would be really happy to see. It would bring a lot more to the multiplayer as well. But of course, like I said, I'm a dreamer. So whether that's possible or not,
it's a very good dream. Very good dream, Kermit. I think that's going to happen. We're going to make it happen in 15, 20 years.
The great thing, too, is that with 22, and we're self-publishing for the first time, we're kind of seeing this. 22 is a big leap forward for the series, in our opinion, and I think the players will feel the same way. But at the same time, this being the first game we've self-published, we're scaling as a company. We've opened an office in the Czech Republic, and we have a lot of 3D artists, and they're working on projects over there that previously maybe wouldn't have been possible just due to the manpower limitations. So we see this as like a stepping stone. 22 is really like the beginning of the future for the series, because it's a nice leap forward, but we're not satisfied. We're not going to be happy just because 22 is a good game. We're going to take it further throughout the years, and our community and our player base has been so receptive of this series and have supported us. They play our game for thousands of hours, and we have a modding community that's really strong. We have something like over 5,000 mods on PC and over 4,000 on console for FS19. So I think those numbers will continue to increase throughout the series iterations as well. So yeah, we see this as just really the beginning of lots of great things we can do. So who knows what might be possible down the road as we continue to grow as a company.
Great. Kermit Ball, thank you so much. And when's the release? It's UK, I think is it 22nd?
Yeah, so it depends on the platform. I think that Xbox is doing like a midnight Central European time release too. Our platform, the Giants eShop, is definitely midnight Central European time on the 22nd. So depending on where you are in the world, it could become available, unlock for you a bit earlier. But yeah, the main release worldwide is November 22nd. So we're just a few days away now, and we're really excited for it. And I hope that everyone will have as much fun with this one as they have with previous versions of our game, and take it even further.
Good luck. Good luck with your first launch. And,
thank you very much, Gareth.
Brilliant.
It's a pleasure.
See you soon. Bye-bye. There you go. So there's Kermit. Right, you two. What do you think? I mean, have you played the game? First of all, Darren, have you played a farming simulator game before?
I've not, no, being totally honest. I think the closest I've ever got to a farming sim game is Animal Crossing. Didn't even go into Harvest Moon and stuff in the past, and I know this is very kind of ultra realistic. I do worry if I enjoy it that it's going to kind of take over my life though. So I'm a bit nervous around checking it out, I think.
And James, you did the first couple, didn't you? I think really early ones for the site.
Yeah, I think that was. Is it Farming Simulator 14? I think.
Okay.
The first one that I did, and I was pretty brutal, to be fair.
You were brutal.
It was a bit buggy and messy.
Yeah.
And I will say that I think I did 19 the gold edition as well.
I think I did. I did 19 the normal one, didn't I? Yeah.
Yeah, and I did the extra bits to it. And I was impressed in how far it's come in terms of polish. It's definitely a more well-rounded game, and it plays a lot better. Yeah, Mr. Kermit, I must say, is a terrific job of selling the game. It sounds like they do a lot of great improvements, especially with the seasonal changes.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have like winter, and you have to plow the snow. I thought it was quite cool.
Well, I think what happens in winter, from the thing you stay in winter, you can't really do much. So that's when the production line stuff happens. So you have to sort of set up your production lines of making bread or cakes or stuff like that. So
it's a side business.
Yeah, which is it's
good. They're adding quite a lot of different routes rather than just planting some seeds and that's it done.
Yeah,
it seems like they've really expanded the world of farming.
I mean, what's kind of amazing is that multiplayer world and that kind of cross support. So the idea that you can play with how many was it? 16 or up to 16 people in one kind of private server. All working.
Is it dedicated servers?
Yeah, that's what he sort of said, and he dedicated that server, and it's like all working together in that 16. That's from when you did it in 14, that wasn't around at all, was it? I don't think, James, was it? It happened in 19.
I wish it was.
Yeah.
It was a lonely line. Going up and down them fields.
Up and down those fields, I know.
Listening to the sound of silence.
Yeah, I mean that's where it's become really kind of interesting, and that whole the community is kind of mad. It's just
I couldn't believe when you said there's esports.
Yeah,
I thought
Esports
that.
farming sim.
Yeah.
I was like mind blown.
Yeah, we to do an interview cover, we went onto a server on Discord before we started, and there was, I think it was like 17,000 people there chatting.
Wow.
Yeah, it was mad. It's such a big game. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they really do disservice the fans that do love it.
Mm.
And especially with the mods. I think there's quite a lot of mods in the game now.
Yeah, they're going to
support
support
that.
19
even.
Yeah, they're going to
yeah, even on console.
Yeah,
and that's what they need. Let the community build on top of what they've already done, which is great. It's great to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the kind of it's there's quite a few farming sim games out now. There's Real Farm that was there. I've done a few other ones as well as the kind of fantasy ones, and it's obviously there's a market there for that. It's very interesting with the kind of survival games that we see, which is like build shelters, all those things. They've become so popular, haven't they? It's about this kind of like doing everyday jobs, I suppose.
It is. It's really strange. Kind of an interest in doing things in a virtual world that in the real world aren't nearly as relaxing or interesting or entertaining. It's quite a fascinating genre of game, I think.
There's a really good article, right? If you look for it online, anyone's interested in it, but I think The Guardian did it, and it's about real farmers who work all day and then go and play Farming Simulator at night.
Oh, wow.
I know. That's hardcore, isn't it?
Talk about having your cake and eating
it. Yeah. There you go. Thank you very much, Kermit Ball. That was very nice to drop in. And we look forward to reviewing the game soon when it comes out on the 22nd. Right, back to other matters now. What have we been playing? What have we been playing this week? Darren, what have you been looking at?
So one of my games that I'm reviewing, it should hopefully be live now, is Cyanide Happiness Freakpocalypse Episode 1. So quite a mouthful. It's based on a webcomic from back in the mid-noughties. So I don't know if you ever played like kind of flash browser games with stick figures and characters. It's that type of era. And essentially you play as a young lad called Coop who's at school, gets picked on by the school bullies, even the teachers don't really like him. He's a bit of an outcast. And you have to basically go around running errands for people. So it's a point and click game, but it's got quite an adult tone, so definitely not suitable for kids. Language, kind of adult themes going on. Some of the humour is quite close to the bone, so it depends whether you'll find it funny or just a bit off-putting, depending on your sense of humour. If you're a fan of the world, because there's been board games and all sorts that have spawned from this webcomic back in the noughties, then you'll really like it. It's really faithful to what that is, but it's quite a steady game. You run errands for the people in the town, but actually not a lot else kind of happens. But it is only episode 1, so I'm hoping that they're going to expand on it because they're planning to do a trilogy, so 3 of them. So yeah, I found it. I've got quite a dark sense of humour, so I found it quite funny, but It might turn a few people off. There's some close to bone stuff in there for sure.
What's it close to, game? If you had to say, it's very much like this.
It's a bit like South Park: The Stick of Truth, type of scenario, but based in the world of the webcomic. So you can see some similarities where it's kind of been inspired, I think, from that game which came out a few years ago now. So it's that type of adventure.
Right. Okay. We might give that a go. James, what about you? What fantastic game have you been playing?
Oh well, you're gonna enjoy this. It's called 890B.
Okay.
It's a weird title. I've still no idea what it stands for after playing the entire game. But the backstory is that you're a scientist who's got a task of finding a new planet to inhabit because the Earth, it just isn't habitable anymore. You've got to leave the Earth. It's a top-down 3D adventure. And I know all that because of the game description. Because in the game, you basically learn nothing. There's two characters, and all of their interactions are like, it's like two robots talking. And the real humans, so it comes across really dry and minimalistic in its conversation. But the actual gameplay, you're just walking around from point to point. You'll go upstairs, interact with something, go downstairs, interact with something else, and you just keep going back and forth. And that is most of the game.
Sounds like my perfect game.
I was going to say, to risk quoting Paul, is it a walking simulator by any chance?
I mean, it feels like it. And it's, what do I say? There's two puzzles in the it's like an hour in total. And one's like snake. You got to guide this snake thing through a route to get to the other side without hitting any walls.
Right.
And it's so clunky. It's horrendous. And then the other one is like moving boxes into certain positions. Like Soccer Man. I had a funny game that I used to play.
Yeah.
And I'm just playing it thinking, it's only an hour. I can't wait for it to end. It offered me nothing. So surprisingly, I won't recommend it.
You two have really cheered me up with your game choices.
Have you got any more questions about it? I'm happy to answer.
I don't think I've ever heard you so unimpressed by a game in a long time, James.
I have.
Have you? All right.
Yeah. And this is me being diplomatic. I'm trying to be kind. Not one that I would pick up anytime soon.
Is it cheap? Is it very cheap?
It's under a $5.
Oh, okay. Right, there you go.
Just go and get a cup of coffee.
A nice Christmas one.
And stare out the window.
There you go. That's James' recommendation. Cup of coffee and staring out the window. Next game. I've been playing something a bit better than that. Sherlock Holmes Chapter One came out this week, and I've had it for about 3 weeks. And I reviewed it. And Sherlock Holmes is as we know, the fictional detective. And this game is by Frogware, who have done quite a few of the Sherlock Holmes games before. And they've done recently Sinking City, which had problems when it got released on Xbox One, but the Series X and the PS5 versions was much better. It solved a lot of its problems. And this kind of borrows a little bit from both those Sherlock games and Sinking City, some of the elements that introduced in that. And you play a sort of young Sherlock Holmes, so almost like a really early 20s. And he's travelling to a fictional Mediterranean island called Godona to visit his mother's grave. And she's died there in their old house. And Godona's this sort of like, Mediterranean. It's sort of ruled by the British Empire, like it's 19th century. And you arrive there with this character called John, not Watson. Is John character in the hotel. And immediately you're thrown into a case in the hotel, a seance that's gone wrong. And the way it works is like the Sherlock games beforehand, is to solve the case you can go into a concentration mode and you can kind of see and examine objects all around you. So you examine objects, you see sort of almost like ghosts of what could have possibly happened, which you have to put in the right kind of order. Then you'll get clues that you sort of pin to your in your guide, and that would be the. So if you pin, I don't know, someone stole the diamond, when you go up to talk to someone, that's what you'll lead with, and that person might respond to it. If that makes sense. And then you have a thing called a mind palace, which is in the other Sherlock games, which is all the clues start to appear in that, and you can link clues together to get other possibilities. Now, eventually, you get enough of them will end up as this is what you think's happened, and it's whether you get them arrested or let them go, for example. But you can get things wrong, still. That's the great thing about it. It kind of works in this way, like you can be completely convinced that this is the right way, but it might not be, and that person will still go to jail. It's kind of it's not linear in that sense. And after that first case, then it becomes an open world game. You're going around this whole kind of, you're doing a main story mission, but you can pick up side quests from the police station. So you go off and do all these, try to solve all these little cases. There's combat in there now. It's all right. You can not use the combat, which I did in the end, just sort of avoided it. There's no need for that. The most interesting thing about it is the writing, the story, and the way the clues are put together, which I think are always good for those Sherlock games and the world. There's problems with it, but it does a really good job, I think. And it's long. It's a huge game. It's like 40 hours of gameplay, I think, plus.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is long.
If you do it.
Is it challenging?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
I
think you'll really enjoy that. You are really looking and going, after the sort of first one, you're sort of like going, okay, that's kind of good. I've got this. But the moment you go into kind of case 2, you're sort of like I don't know how what could happen. So you're just trying possibilities and stuff. Yeah, no, it is. It's really interesting.
Good. Sounds interesting, huh?
And chapter 1, so there must be a few more down the line they're thinking of. I thought it was going to be like like a 6-hour game, and then there'd be another chapter 2 in like 4 months. But it seems a much bigger game. Yeah, good.
Can I ask a question?
You certainly can.
So what happens if you get the wrong person put in jail? Is there any repercussions, or?
Yeah, so I mean, you there's a repercussion that you know. I mean, there's one point quite early on you can choose to let that person go or free them, and and what it does is quite interesting with the story. It's like this person has killed someone, but actually they've done it for a reason, and that reason is a good reason. But it's whether you think it's a good reason enough to let them go, or you go, justice has to be done. Of
morals.
Yeah, it's your own moral judgment, and that's what's quite nice about the whole thing. It's about your journey through. So you could get to a point that you arrest someone and then they're going, I'm innocent, but then they could be saying that if they were guilty anyway. So you don't. I think you don't necessarily know. I think you do know. Actually, you do know, but you work it out later on. It's one thing I did and thought I've got that wrong. But I was like, fair enough. See you later. Bye bye. Yeah. But I was rushing. I was very rushing forward at the end of the game when I was to get it reviewed. But yeah, it's a really nice game, so I would recommend it. Really recommend it.
Yeah, I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
Me too.
It's not linear. Linear games are the worst when they're them types of games. I mean, Agatha Christie was linear.
Yeah.
And you can't do anything wrong.
No. Yeah,
and
definitely.
You just know you get in there.
Yeah.
I
like the ambition of it as well. This was quite nice, and that's some of it doesn't quite work. The UI gets a bit fiddly, but yeah, it's good. It's good. Right, I think that's enough for the games wise, isn't it? I think let's go into some news and stuff. Oh no, what did you want? Oh no, you haven't got anything.
I'm going to talk about Games of War.
Oh my god, Jesus, no.
Moving on.
Not really.
Xbox had their 20th celebration on Monday, wasn't it? I think they had a little.
It was.
Press thing, and their big reveal at the end, which I think Richard or Darren, one of you two, might have said that day, they're going to release Halo multiplayer, and they did. To the general,
they did indeed.
Wild. And yeah, it was. What do we think about the 20th celebration? 40 minutes, whatever it was. Darren, do you like it?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I watched it. I was a bit worried it was going to be a long drawn out like that horrendous ID Xbox thing a few months ago, but it was quite concise. Few clips from old E3 shows, like when The Rock turned up with Bill Gates, and there's a Xbox documentary starting, and it's be available on like YouTube and other platforms mid-December, I think, which kind of looks over the last 20 years. They announced some backwards compatibility as original Xbox games as well. And then obviously finished with the reveal, which, like everything these days, was leaked about 24 hours beforehand, that Infinite multiplayer was being pulled forward to release on the 20th anniversary. So I thought it went down really well, to be fair.
Yeah. James?
Yeah, I like the fact that they started off with The Rock, and then they brought him back for this event. And he looks 10 times bigger.
He did.
Man.
Really
He's
did.
putting some work. But yeah, and so many games are backwards compatible. But one that really stood out was 50 Cent Blood on the Sand. And I think that is the most underrated co-op game there ever was.
Yeah.
I love that game.
Yeah.
It was so good. But for a game that you'd expect nothing from, it gave everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really a nice little blast from the past, the whole show.
Good.
I like
Halo multiplayer. Have you had a go at it, you two?
Yes. I think it's really good. I was worried, as I have been, with the rocky kind of development cycle of this game. But I think it plays well. It's quite tight. It looks good, a lot better than it would have looked if it was released last year. And it's really, really good fun. So there's a few modes you can play already. So you can go into quick matches, ranked matches, or these big team battles. It's kind of 12v12 in large environments with like vehicles and stuff. So I put a few hours in the other night, and I can't explain it. It just worked. And unlike Halo 5, which really kind of jarred with me and felt like an FPS clone, it didn't feel like it had any sort of Halo DNA in it, really. I feel like they've made good on their promise so far to try and go back to what made the original so enjoyable to play.
I'm confused at the moment. Is it a beta still, or is it?
Technically, it is. Yeah,
Right.
I think. But it's just totally open, so it's not like invite or closed or anything. So you just download it from the store and play it. But as far as I'm aware, it's a beta, because they're getting feedback. So there's the battle pass. The way you progress through that, they've made some tweaks to it due to feedback. So I think they're still actively asking for players to feedback to them.
Okay, fine. James, you had a go?
Yeah, I jumped straight into a player versus AI game just to get warmed up. I was disappointed by my teammates having basic Spartan IDs and not customizing the characters. So I showed them up. I showed them how it's done. Got a few kills. And then I moved into the main game, and I've got to say, like Darren said, it is very smooth, and everything about it just works. And it doesn't really do anything majorly different than any Halo game I've played before. That's not a bad thing, because you just want a good Halo game with some awesome weapons and some vehicles, and that's what we've got. There's some cool maps. So yeah, I think the battle pass will probably keep me going a bit longer.
Okay.
It's quite enjoyable unlocking different levels and getting new rewards every so often, like PUBG and Rocket League.
Yeah.
The same kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with it. It's good. So good.
I could actually review Call of Duty and play a lot of multiplayer for that review, which I'm not used to. And then I went back into this and then went, oh yeah, jumpy. I forgot about this. And then I can't do this for a while. Yeah, I'm still in the other headset. But yeah, it looked great. It did look good. And it's, I can't see me playing much of it though. I think I'm not good enough anymore for that stuff. Not good enough to hold my own. But lots of people love it. I'm looking forward to the campaign. That's coming soon.
Yeah. Not long now.
Not long now. Right, let's go into. Let's just have a quick chat before we go into the Game Awards. Let's talk about backwards games coming out. GTA, which I had a rant about last time, I think, or maybe a couple of weeks ago. GTA's come out and it hasn't gone smooth for Rockstar. We've got a review coming out thing. I don't think we've been that favourable. There's lots of great footage online of terrible things going wrong. Rain that you can't see as you're going along. Terrible, kind of like a weird one when in the first GTA when the bay walls are in the speedboat and his faces appear in the walls. That's an amazing thing, right? Yeah,
That's terrifying.
Really terrifying. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Darren, have you played it? Because you were really looking forward to this thing.
No. So I, unlike some of the crew here, I'm a big GTA fan, or I should say, up until 4, I never really got into 5 because I just never had the time, even though they seem intent on releasing it every few years again. But my favourite ever was Vice City, so I've been kind of wanting and praying for a remaster for so many years. And then alarm bells started ringing when it kind of appeared out of nowhere. And we laugh because it is a mess, but I'm also quite sad at the same time. I'm gutted because, 3 is really good. San Andreas is fan favourite, but mine was Vice City. And just, I think on Metacritic now, it's got 0.4 on average, which is less than online soccer, the Pro Evolution kind of evolution, which we all know was an absolute nightmare. So they've got a lot of work to do to try and turn it around. And on the store, it's 55 quid on the Xbox store. Yeah. It's a premium price for not new games, as you said. It's a re-release. And frankly, it's a complete mess. Yeah. I don't know what's happened. It's not like Rockstar at all. I don't know what's happened.
And that's it. I think when you said it's sad, I'm sort of more angry now because I think that's it. Rockstar had this brilliant bit, and I'm a massive GTA fan, massive Red Dead fan. Love what Rockstar do, and what was great about Rockstar is like they wouldn't ever sort of toe the line. They wouldn't appear at any sort of like major events. They would just say suddenly their trailer drops, or suddenly it was GTA 3. The game just dropped. It was there on console. It was like, what? On a Friday, and everyone's done. Yeah. It had this kind of amazing kind of like almost like punk quality to them. It was like a weird kind of like we do what they want. And I just feel now they've damaged those 3 games.
Yeah.
They've damaged the legacy of those 3 games because they've just rushed out something for money. And also I think with GTA 5 how much money that's made them online and still is. And then it feels like someone else gone, well, actually we can make even more money if we release these 3 things. When there's probably mods for those 3 games that have been better, that have been taken off Steam and stuff.
Yeah, they looked better. There was some screenshots going around. You're right. Yeah. Looked better than the game that was released officially. It's just bonkers.
And they've taken out things. They've added kind of things as well. They've added kind of more GTA 5 kind of qualities to it to make it better. But it's sort of getting 2s, isn't it? And really it's low scores because
sorry to interrupt. I don't know what happened because I think in San Andreas there was some licensed music that shouldn't have been in it that was actually still in it, but they switched it off or something. And there was the infamous mini game that was still there, so they took it off the PC store for a few days, I think, and now it's back. Right. But there just seems to be no sort of attention to detail whatsoever. I don't understand what's happened. It's so unlike them. As you say, like the more I talk about it, the more I feel myself sliding from sad to angry. So I'll just stop.
It's very interesting that Dan Houser left after Red Dead 2.
Yeah,
and, it's really interesting that has that influence, that major influence. Would he have wanted this to happen? Would this have happened under his watch? It's really interesting. It's just sad. It's just really sad.
It is.
And also there is a case of you're playing a game that it doesn't hold up after all these years because of just the gameplay, and just the look of stuff. Because it's not the same thing. We're used to different ways of playing stuff now, but it hasn't really become much better. James, I know you're not a GTA fan, so this doesn't come to any surprise for you.
Oh, I didn't see it coming. The fact that they milked GTA 5 until the teats gone dry and fallen off. It's absolutely no surprise that they're going to rush out anything they can to get a bit more money. But I think I'd have a bit more sympathy if they'd just gone for the old Grand Theft Autos, like the first one, and then maybe packaged it with the new GTA as a bonus for people that want to get the upgrade. Something like that, do the fans a little bit of, fan service.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you reap what you sow.
But it's a shame because we want to see the next Rockstar game. That's what we want to see. Well, yes, sensible people do, but you do because they are geniuses when they do it, and they should be doing. And maybe they will. Maybe they'll be doing. Maybe there's going to be exciting times for them ahead, and this is just a side project to make more money. That's gone wrong, but it still made them lots of money. It's made them lots of money.
Yeah.
People bought it, so yeah.
It all damaged the reputation.
Yeah.
Like you said. Wasn't worth it.
The Game Awards.
Mm-hmm.
The nominees for game. We're not going to go through all the categories. You can see them yourself. We're just going to look at two. We're going to look at Game of the Year and Best Indie Game. So shall I read them out? And then you two can have your opinion. So the Game of the Year nominations are Deathloop on PS5 and PS4. It Takes Two. Metroid Dread on Nintendo. Psychonauts 2. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. And Resident Evil Village. Village. James, what's your take on this?
I think you've missed one.
What have I missed?
Where's Forza Horizon 5?
It's not on this one. It's on Best Audio and Best Driving or Best Sports Game.
I can't believe it's not there over Metroid Dread or Deathloop. I mean, It Takes Two, fantastic co-op game, no doubt about it. I'm not surprised it's there. And Psychonauts, so much fun. But really, Deathloop.
Deathloop's really, really good. It's great.
Well, compared to a massive open world racing game that's getting 9s and 10s.
I mean, I would take Psychonauts 2 out of that and put Forza in. Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
yeah. I love Psychonauts. It's good. I really enjoy it. It's not a game of the year for me. I think Resident Evil Village maybe deserves to be in there. I think it was really interesting. Ratchet and Clank, yeah. I don't know about Metroid Dread. What about you, Darren?
So I'm in a similar place to James. For me, it's between It Takes Two and Psychonauts 2, just from my experience and what I've played. But I know that Ryan's played Metroid Dread religiously and loves it and says it's fantastic. And he hasn't played a Metroid game or really a big Nintendo game in years. So I kind of see why that's there. Deathloop, I've not played, but I love the look of it. The weakest one, I think, actually is Resident Evil Village in that lineup for me. I think that's the one that's really fighting for its place.
Fair enough.
I would like to see Forza in there as well, just because it adds a bit more variety to the lineup as well. And it is a huge game. And Ratchet and Clank is supposed to be brilliant, but I've not played it. So for me, it would be between Psychonauts 2 and It Takes Two.
Okay. We're going to not do Best Indie because there's about 3 indie games in there that are PC, and I bet me and James haven't played them.
Or me.
Or you. So let's do Best Narrative. That's my favourite because we've all probably experienced one of these games. So Best Narrative is for outstanding storytelling and narrative development. The game is Deathloop, It Takes Two, Life is Strange: True Colours, Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy, and Psychonauts 2. I think that's a pretty good lineup, actually, for me.
Some great choices.
Yeah, I think all 5 are really solid. It's not very controversial, is it?
No,
what about you, Dan? You all agree, don't we? What would you give it if you had a choice there?
I would probably give Psychonauts to it for me, but I've not played Life is Strange: True Colours, but I would give it Psychonauts 2.
Okay, James?
I'm torn. The Guardians is great for what it does, but It Takes Two. For the story it's trying to tell, it really hits home, doesn't it? I think.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I've not played Marvel, the Guardians of the Galaxy, but the 4 I have played, the other 4 are so strong and so different. I wouldn't know where to choose. They're so different, but they're all brilliant narratives. They are all very different. Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Life is Strange. That's what I'm saying. I'm just picking one because I gave it a 5.
You're going to have to, then, don't you?
I know, I've got to do it now.
That's your horse in the race.
It is, exactly. We won't do the rest, but there's some kind of interesting ones on the indie front, but on things like soundtrack and stuff, there's a really strong line there. But have a look and tell us what you think. Let's do a couple of other bits of news before we wrap up. Saints Row delays. The first of the 2022 big delays. It was coming out in February, and now it's been delayed to August. What do you think?
2023 as well. Oh no, 2022. 2022. Yeah. I thought I'd read that wrong for a second. I was quite looking forward to this, and it seemed to really split opinions. So I think if it needs more time, then that's probably a good thing.
Is it coming out on Xbox Series X and Xbox One, or was it a new gen? That's the only thing I thought might have moved it as well.
That's a good question.
Because if it was Series X only, there could be a reason for the move because someone's got.
No one has one.
Yeah, so then maybe they're moving it forward, but maybe it's on both. I'm not sure. It made me laugh when someone reported it. It's been delayed by just a couple of months. That's not a couple of months. February and August.
That's half a year.
That's a chunk. Yeah. What else do we think that might get delayed from this February-March lineup? I mean, it's a heavy. Do you think
it is? I don't know if there'll be any tactical delays in order to make sure that all the big ones aren't going up against each other. Because for even for like PlayStation, you've got like Horizon, haven't you, and stuff like that that's coming out.
Yeah, some big, and that Sifu's coming out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That cat game's coming out as well at some point.
Oh, that Stray. That looks good.
And then you have got also Dying Light 2 in the beginning of February.
Dying Light keeps getting, it's been delayed since it first got revealed, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Do you know what I think? I think people need to sort of, I think I've said this before in the podcast, we're sort of stuck in this loop of like, games need to come out in October to December for Christmas, and then you can't do it. You've got to start from February. Whack it in January. If it would have come out in January, people would buy stuff still, and I think they would buy a game in January. However broke they are from Christmas, they're going to still try to do a game. And it would just be clear. It's the same as the kind of like July months. Put stuff out in July. People would buy a game. It's not like kids anymore who are 14.
No, it's a 365-day year market now, isn't it? There's no kind of... Back in the day, it used to be in the summer you'd get a couple of dodgy movie tie-ins and then you'd wait for the holiday season, like you say. But it's not now. There's just games everywhere.
Yeah. Just use those months. Use those empty months. People will buy it, I think. And it just... Yeah, you're right. I think when it comes to February and you're looking at Dying Light 2 and you're going, well, Horizon's coming out and...
Is Elden Ring supposed
Elden Ring's February as well, yeah.
You don't want to compete with that, do you?
No.
Not really.
Compete with Elden Ring and Horizon. You might as well just go, well, we're not getting any sales this year.
Maybe that's how Saints Row have done it.
Yeah, I think there is a case.
Yeah.
Pragmata, the strange game that no one knows anything about Capcom.
Oh yeah.
That's been delayed to 2023, but that didn't surprise me at all.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, I don't know anything about it really, do I?
It's a strange trailer. That never was coming out.
Very strange game.
Yeah, could be brilliant. And that's it. I think that's where we're going to leave it there because we've had an hour of good fun. Gentlemen, what are you looking forward to next week? Darren,
I am looking forward to finally making some time for Forza Horizon 5. Because I've not even touched it yet, which I know is criminal. I've remembered to download it finally, but I've not played it, so that's what I'm going to do next week.
Good, it's good fun. I'm a bit addicted to it, and I've got to stop playing it. I don't know why. I'm just driving around now. It's like, what am I doing? James, what about you?
I'm going to catch up on some superhero films. I've got Suicide Squad to watch, and Shang-Chi. So
good.
hopefully they'll be good.
Very good. Now, I've just put in the end here, I don't know what I'm looking forward to, but Paul, who's on next week and he'll chat about it a bit more, he's done a little preview piece for Elder Ring. He had a 3-hour code that was going for about $300 on eBay, and he played, so he's just done a little opinion piece, and we'll get to hear a bit more about that game next week. But I think he really enjoyed it. So it's very hard as well. But gentlemen, if we need to find you, Darren, where will we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at 27Darren.
And James, what about you?
Yep, Twitter and Instagram at OKidUKO.
And you can find me on Twitter and Twitch at GB Brady. That's for now. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
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 You've been listening to the official podcast of TheXboxHub.com. You'll be able to find all the notes of this show at www.TheXboxHub.com/podcast. You can also check out our social feeds on Instagram and Twitter at The Xbox Hub, and search for The Xbox Hub on Facebook.